Thank you so much for staying tuned. If you just joined us, this is International Forum, and we are taking a look at what is happening right now in Israel, where a war minister chose to resign because he's not happy with the way Benjamin Netanyahu is running things. He said we would have won this a long time ago, if only if Benjamin chose to conduct the election. Benjamin said, look, this is not the time for election. This is the time for us to have a common front. This is time for us to be in one accord, to fight our seeming enemies. But Gantz is not having any one of this. He's saying, look, enough is enough. We should call it a wrap right now. Let's take a look at the elections and, of course, the allegations leveled against you. Don't forget also the prospect of ceasefire. And that is what will form the crux of our discussion today. With me here in the studio, I have a lecturer from UNIBEN, Faculty of College of Medical Sciences. Yes, he's an active political analyst, both local and international politics. Is well grounded. Join me to welcome Honorable Frank Amego. Welcome to International Forum. Appreciate your coming.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
All right. Yeah. Sonny would have been here. I mean, it's just like everybody had something to really take care of. And of course, Uyigwe also would have been here, but due to one or two exigencies, they couldn't make it to the studio. So, what do you have to say about this? Since October 7, it's like the Middle East has been in a state of unrest. Because the Israeli Mossad, you know, the Israeli Defense Force, they are still saying that the reason why they are taking things so hard with Hamas is because the Palestinians are in support of what they are doing. They didn't come out openly to condemn what they are doing. Hence, the pumela will start. It will not end. That for the next 20 years, you understand, Palestinians, so to speak, will pay for what they did. Now, there is a comment by one Israeli soldier where he was called to, for an interview. You could see the anger in his eyes. You could see, the desperation, because they're beginning to discover that Hamas, really, they've killed some of those hostages they've been trying to make this exchange with. I mean, it's like it's just going crazy. Despite the fact that Joe Biden is talking about peace deal, ceasefire, Benjamin isn't listening. Take it up for the jump into the decision of Gantz to really call it quit.
Yeah, like the war that is ongoing, Palestinians, of course, that has been my stand, that has been issue, that they're in support of the Hamas.
But not all of them.
It can't be all of them.
Yeah.
Most of them. Where the leadership, or the Palestinian leadership, they're in support of the Hamas, in the sense that they have not made any meaningful statement as to how to show their displeasure over the activities of the Hamas. Of course, the Hamas are also Palestinians. They have brothers and sisters in between. So the war might come to an end anytime from now if things required by Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu is carefully considered. The resignation of Benny has not helped in any way, because you have a common enemy. This is not a time to create your own platform as to whether you like what the Prime Minister is doing or not. You'll be settled with the common enemies. Then you come back and iron out your differences. It's as if he's on the side of the Hamas now by resigning his position, and whether you like it or not, that position can be vacant. He's not the only person right there. I'm sure by now some persons would have shown interest, and the war will still continue until whatever agreement that will be reached is done right on time. Because the various interest groups, China, Russia on one side, US, Germany, and the rest on the other side, they will come to a compromise if these other forces, external forces, decide to leave them alone. They would have long relaxed this fight, but the various contributions, either positively or negatively, has not helped in the ceasefire deal. And what just happened I think on Sunday, that resignation is a further show that let's see if Netanyahu can carry on without me. Of course, as a prime minister, the head of administration, you want to show to the people of Israel and by extension the whole world that without that one person resigning, without him, we can still continue. So that's what in a way will make the war to linger on. It's a show of might. Your absence means little or nothing to us. And just watch it will defeat the Hamas in a short while. So that can be a basis for further escalation of the war.
Further escalation of the war. Now, you talked about Benjamin saying that he can carry on with the war without Benny Gantz. But according to a report, what Benny said is not far from the truth. Election is around the corner. You have some things levied against you. From his court, you would have won it all only if you do the right thing, you do the needful thing. That's what Benny said. Is it a crime for him to say that? How would you say that he's supporting Hamas because he chose to resign?
Yeah. What Benny Gantz did was wrong. It happened in Nigeria some years ago where we had a former president, Olusegun Obasanjo. The public kept on complaining there was not listening or taking to heart what his advisors were saying. And the then president said, they were my advisors. They are not to force me to take to any advice. So you're advising the president or the prime minister. It's not left for you to ensure that he takes it. The best you could do is what you have done. You have advised. Then let the world know that he didn't heed to your advice. But it's not for you to force him down his throat until and unless he accepts it. That can lead to a form of insubordination, which is even punishable. And beyond that, he went ahead to resign. Why are you resigning? We know our common enemy. This is not the time to resign. In fact, this is not even the time to conduct any election. Because in our attempt to conduct an election, a lot of innocent Israelis will be fired from the side of the opponent. A lot of persons will gather together. That will be a spot for Hamas to attack. So this is not time for elections. So if Benny will accept the reality at a time of war, they will tell us that it is not the way you dress to go to farm. It is not some way you dress to go for a war. There are two different occasions, and you don't mix them up. So if they are looking up to elections, this is not the right time. Let's go further a bit to secure a reasonable level of victory to say, okay, let's come back home and do a form of election. If they conducted any election now, Israel will suffer it. So Benny Gantz should have just head on a little bit. That you advise the prime minister does not mean that hook, line, and sinker will be taken. It's a piece of advice. The person you are advising, you give an opportunity to relate with what you have said. Except because the military officer, a general, that does not mean that anything you told your boss that he should take. No. So you should have heard on a little bit, no matter how germane your suggestions or piece of advice would have been. You allow your boss to understand, to relate with what you have just said. It's based on his understanding of the piece of advice given that will determine the response he's going to give. So Benny Gantz couldn't wait for Benjamin Netanyahu to digest, to even swallow first. The next he says, since you are not going to take it, I'm resigning. You are not helping anybody. Why in your absence now, there is total victory for Israel. And meanwhile, he's interested in taking part in the election. So that can also work against him. Your country is at war. Is it the right time to resign? Your resignation shows clearly that you are not in for the fight against your enemies. You are even in support. Why did you withdraw? It's not like you have been asked to guard a personality. So because you greeted that personality you are guarding, it did not respond on time, say, okay, I'm going to resign. And by that, exposing the boss you're supposed to guard. You're supposed to be in the theater of war to find out lasting ways in which Israel will have a long-lasting upper arm. Now you start to withdraw everything that you would have contributed towards the total victory of your country over their enemies. But I'm aware, as of yesterday, that some other persons have shown interest. Because this is a collective war. It is not war between Hamas and Netanyahu. No. It's the whole of Israel. So that wasn't the right time. It was not properly timed.
But Netanyahu have been accused of prolonging this war because trying to avoid litigation. He's trying to avoid the election because of what the Israelis are wanting him to come answer to. What do you have to say about it? Because that is what Benny Gantz is standing on. He said would have had a total victory if you did the right thing. If you did the right thing, you would have prosecuted this war, and of course, talk about the ceasefire, and we'll move on with our lives. Someone said that he's making a very vital point in this particular juncture. Now, what do you have to say about that?
This is a vital point that is wrongly placed, in the sense that you are interested in the next election. But what is before us right now is a scenario that will not go back and be campaigning. You know the issue of campaigns. You have to gather a large number of people together. That becomes a target point for the enemies to strike.
But he said the war would have ended. But Benjamin is, just pushing the war over and over and over again because they have a time frame for it. According to him, they have a time frame. Now you extended the time frame. Why not call this a wrap? Let's fix our own in-house problems.
Yes, it would have been right to fix the problems within, but resignation wasn't the best option. The points you were trying to make have been deflated. You were in the cabinet, then you had a voice to bring to bear to the public whatever issues you wanted to grind with Netanyahu. But now you're no longer there, so you have no say anymore. At the point you had the ground to speak, you spoke and little or nothing was not done about it. Then now you are out of it. Is it now they will listen to you? Now it's going to ensure that the war does not succeed, that Israel will not succeed. That's the way I'm looking at it. Because if you are the general purpose of this is our country, you are the mindset of a nationalist. This is not the mindset he should portray right now. That you told him while you were in charge of the war, you were controlling everything. And the Prime Minister did not see any reason with you along that line. Is it now that you are out of it that he will listen to you? To me, there should be no election at this point. Any election here is going to spell doom for Israel. Common sense will tell us no need for such things. No need.
Usually I want to go for a break. When we return, we'll definitely continue with this discussion. Do stay. Thanks a lot for staying tuned. If you just joined us, this is International Forum, and we are having here with us, occupying with me in the studio, Honorable Frank and Mego. We're taking a look at what is happening right now between Israel-Hamas or Israel-Gaza war, depends on how you want to coin it. But we are taking a look at the resignation of Benny Gantz. Yes, the war minister. He said he's had enough. He brought out reasons why he chose to quit that particular position, because to him right now it doesn't make much sense. He said this would have won it all if they just stuck to the plan. And after doing this and doing that, you come back and of course settle what is happening internally, because even in course of this war, you remember where we had some pockets of protest here and there against Benjamin Netanyahu and his government, the way they're going about the war, because people really want to see their loved ones. As it stands right now, Israeli soldiers are beginning to discover dead hostages, and that isn't going down too well with Israel. According to report, may just hamper the ceasefire plan that Joe Biden is proposing, as insisting that there must be a ceasefire for the war to come to an end. And bam, there's a resignation by Benny Gantz, citing reasons best known to him for him to step aside. But Benjamin said, look, Benny, this is not the time for what you're doing. You should have this one united front to fight our common enemy. Benny said, do the right thing. Definitely we would have won all of this, quoting Benny right, I would have won it all. That's what he said, if you just did the right thing. Now, what do you think Benjamin Netanyahu is doing wrong in this particular war against Hamas in Gaza?
Yes, well, as you earlier stated, he may be afraid of litigations and thanking his stars for bringing this war between Israel and the Hamas. That became a leverage for him, became excusable for him for not conducting the elections. If this war had ended before now, election undoubtedly would have taken place. But I'm wondering, for Benny Gantz, is it going to look like the biblical King David? Why he should be at the war front, was not at home. And what now befell him is left for history to narrate. So now you were in the theater of war, you were busy doing one thing or the other. So one would be wondering, what would he be doing at home right now? Hearing of the various activities going on between Israel and the Hamas. What would he be doing at home? Busy castigating the prime minister? Of no consequence to winning the war. So I would think he will have that conscience to think that his action was premature. It became dictatorial. You have to advise your leader or your boss, in this case the prime minister, and he's not taking. What is the constitutional provision for a prime minister not listening to your kind of person in that position? Has he been able to bring to pass or to bear what constitutional provision would have attended to that? Resigning, to me, it was dictatorial in a way. That if you don't accept what I'm telling you, I will resign. You should not threaten your leader. As a leader, there are a lot of things a leader will be thinking of. There are a lot of things a leader will know. And his subordinates may not even have an idea. Even ordinary head of a unit, there are some bits of information you'll be aware of. Other workers under you will not have an idea. So if you're now wanting the head of that unit, or the prime minister as the case is now, he has other things to think about. The information you are giving to him now, to Benjamin Netanyahu, is it a contradiction to what he earlier heard, or far less than what he had at his disposition? I have not seen any report to show how Benny Gantz went to find out all of these questions, begging for answers. What I'm advising you for or against now, do you have a superior piece of advice in this direction? I'm sure he has not explored that direction. So just say, as a military officer, if you don't take what I'm telling you now, I will drop my letter of resignation. In pidgin English, the victory you would have won to have been credited to your account, that it was based on your participation in this war, that Israel was able to win the war against the Hamas. But now you have on your own deleted your name from that history. Is it a good thing to not say, after I resigned, then Israel won? Would that be a good thing? What would posterity say about you? To me, you should have been a little bit more patient. No matter what your aspirations would have been in the forthcoming elections, you should have been patient a little bit.
All right. Now, if we take a look at Gantz's position, it's like the general in charge. Everything about the war execution, prosecution, everything passes through his table. Don't you think that others are not seeing what he has seen? Because he is the one that tells Benjamin, like, this is what we should do. This is how we should prosecute this war. This is what we should do. Because he is the one at the middle of all this. Like, if the man at the middle of it all chooses to reason, I don't think that something is wrong somewhere. It's like Benjamin right now is the king, but he is the general that is in the middle of the war. Talk about soldiers being sent to one sector, the other sector, what weapons to use. The report, it comes through Benny Gantz. And he's saying enough of this, because I don't think he's just seeing something fishy that Benjamin is trying to make the world blind to. That's why I just can't take it anymore and choose to resign.
Yeah, in rhetorics, I'll ask you this question. That between the Prime Minister and Benny Gantz, who is superior and who is inferior to who? Of course, obviously, Benny Gantz is inferior to the Prime Minister. He should bear full allegiance to the Prime Minister. That you now got angry at the point of advising somebody, then there's something to it. Godfather once said, at the point of negotiation, don't be angry. You are advising, oh, dear Prime Minister, I'm at the forefront of this war. Everything we are doing now rotates around me. So I'm of the view that ABC will happen. Then the Prime Minister said, no. The alphabets do not end at C. There's an SYZ, so arguments upon arguments. So it's not left for you, as they say in law, beyond reasonable doubt, to convince your boss that how superior your points will be. Even as you prove the superiority of your points or your views to the Prime Minister, is still at the disposal of your boss, that is the Prime Minister, to accept or not. And if he accepts, good. If he does not accept, look for another day to present whatever you need to present. That if you don't accept, I'm going to resign. So there's a lot of insubordination. I could be punished for it. Even in a simple company, whereby you are a manager of a session and the MD is not listening to your advice, that does not mean you should resign. You calm down, you don't know the sensibilities at the point of your immediate boss. You look for another way to present it. Or you look for another officer in your category to say, colleague, these are the things I've been telling the Prime Minister. And if you plot the graph, or you do the DYDS of the points I'm making to you, the Prime Minister should take it. So look for another colleague, you reason it out together. From there, it could be your mode of presentation. The Prime Minister also look at it, is Benny Gantz trying to take the glory of this war? So whatever thing you have got to say, I'm not taking. So there are a lot of things that would have played out. So
you're talking about is an ego trip between Benjamin and Benny?
Obviously
is that what you're saying right now?
It can be. So I'm trying to do a post-mortem of what would have happened. But it's not for you at this very point in time to say you are resigning. I won't take that as a leader. No matter how germane your points will be, it's not left for the person you are advising to take it or not. You must not make him to take it, because you are not the boss in this matter. You could be sacked from that position. Of course, such a thing can happen in Nigeria. You advise the president, he refuses to take, you resign. They'll just say FCC after you.
Well, anyway, we're talking about that right now. Let's focus more on what is going on in Israel.
There's something that play out.
Yeah.
We have it's not as if we don't know the people we are fighting. We have a common enemy. Except you are pitching tents with the Hamas right now, which I think Benny is not doing. But from your posture, you want us to settle out this war here and there. And the Prime Minister is not seeing it in that light. Maybe not seeing exactly the way you are portraying it. They are allowing for some time to understand the points you've made. He's a leader. So he will maybe at his own time, what Benny Gantz was saying, I think there's some points in it. Benny, please show up in my office. But you didn't create that window. All what you want to say is, since you're not taking the advice I'm giving you, and you know, between two of us, that if not me, this war would have lost out. You are threatening the leader. So you should show some bits of humility. That what I've said is true. If you say it's not true, okay, only time shall tell, as you used to say. Time shall tell. So let not be between the Prime Minister and Benny Gantz that what he said really happened. Let it be that the Prime Minister will bear it. And he will say to the whole of Israel that this thing that befell us just now, I warned the Prime Minister against it. These are my evidences. But he didn't wait for that. That's a bit of pride. You didn't wait, should have waited to now declare. Of course, as we are discussing it now, the Hamas will be discussing it. Now that the man tormenting us is no longer there, let's create a new strategy. If their new strategy now will rubbish the activities of the Israelis, then the Israelis will not pardon Benny in any way. They won't pardon him. It's a common war. Your wife, your children, your family members are involved. Was it a family decision? Or you have some colleagues that told you or advised you, don't be part of it anymore, resign. So if your colleagues or associates told you to resign, I decided to take it, that's personal. But your prime minister has not decided in favor of whatever piece of advice that you have given him. In leadership, in followership, there is a meeting point. That meeting point has been destroyed by Benny Gantz. Because it's not your duty to advise and to make sure that the person you are advising takes it. Otherwise, you become a suspect in so many ways. So Benny Gantz should have been a little bit more patient, bring in other persons. Of course, Israel has a constitution. What are the constitutional provisions in cases like this? We are in the middle of this war. Let this war end. If he says no, who are the people that you are supposed to meet? Who are the characters that can come in now to convince or otherwise portray to the prime minister what and what not to do? So that it becomes something very simple in the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses. I advised him, he refused. The other person came, he advised on the same matter, he refused. Let it be a precedent like that. Not that just between 2 of you, you advised your boss, he didn't take, so I'm resigning. That's not the right thing to do.
Not the right thing to do.
Yes.
Now, for what is happening right now in Israel, now do you see them experiencing, let's say, going for a ceasefire, knowing fully well that the Israeli military is beginning to discover more dead hostages?
Wow.
Despite the fact that Biden is saying, look, let's go for ceasefire. Come on, it's time for ceasefire. What do you feel they would do? Knowing fully well that Benny Grant right now, the one that is at the middle of it all, choose to step down.
I'm sure by now, as at yesterday, Benny's position was about being taken over. If the new person decides also to advise the prime minister in line with what Benny Gantz said, is not left for the prime minister to take it. Otherwise, this new person will also resign. And this war would have been needless in the first instance. So there might be a ceasefire because the new person will have to understand the office. He has not done it before. There might be a little bit of ceasefire. I'm sure the resignation of Benny Gantz now will make the prime minister to sit and think again. Was it that I was impervious to some good advice? Okay, this new person has come now, I should not listen to him. Otherwise, the world will see you as a stubborn leader, as someone that doesn't want to listen to the conscience of good reasoning. So what I expect the prime minister to do, especially this new person that will come in place of Benny Gantz, is to study the situation and to ensure that he fully understands it. Otherwise, if he dabbles into a structure, they don't understand the architectural design, it might end up making a mess of the whole situation. There must be a little bit of ceasefire in an attempt to study whether or not it should be a longer time for ceasefire or not. He will have to relax. Otherwise, if he dabbles into it in a theater of war that he did not arrange by Benny Gantz, it might misfire. So I'm expecting some bits of ceasefire.
But don't forget, some Israeli family are looking for a way to get their family members home alive, hale and healthy. Some of them right now, they've lost their life due to the war. Now, how do you think they will take the resignation of Gantz?
They will not be happy because they believed in him all this while that he could do it. That's why they allowed him. And to a great extent, they have seen some bits of progress. And now the man that has been orchestrating the release of the hostages of their own people and has resigned from the office, they will not be happy. Obviously, they will not be happy. Because it takes a long while for them to understand the new man coming in place and to begin to perform some miracles, in quote, whether he could do as Benny did. And that will take another time again. So that's why I still blame Benny Gantz for resigning prematurely. I'm sure the public, the whole public of Israel will not be so happy. Because this is the wrong time to exit such a delicate position. It wasn't a common position that, okay, some persons are into protest, let's go and dislodge them. It's not a protest. It's a full-blown war. They cannot just wake up one day and take over the steering of the war and all that. So the public will not be happy. Families whose members have been held hostage will not be happy because they would have been so discouraged, because they would have lost hope. Maybe those family members would have gone through that process. They were having hopes in Benny all this while. But now that he resigned prematurely and unceremonially, and nobody will be happy about it.
Now, do you think this is a plus for Hamas? Because Benny has been so tactical in handling the situation, despite the disagreements sometimes may have he had with the Prime Minister in the past and executing this war, but it's like, I can't take this anymore. Enough is enough. We would have won this a long time. Still quoting, would have won this a long time ago, would have won everything, but because of you, I have to step outside. Is it a plus right now for the group or the militia group that Israel is trying to wipe out of Gaza?
Yeah, it is a plus for the meantime if they're able to understand the vacuum that Benny Gantz has created. If they don't, no more plus. If they understand the tactics, the strategies that Benny put in place all this while, and it has been working against the Hamas, now the Hamas will be relieved a little bit, time to just breathe a little bit, and if they can take advantage of that, Israel will be in trouble. Israel will be in trouble, and the Prime Minister will not be happy. That will lead to a lot of this aggregated aggression building up all this while against the Prime Minister. And in the fourth or the next election, that should be 2026, October 2026, the next election, it will likely lose out. But for the generality of the Israel nation, they should bring in someone almost equal, it can't be equal to Benny in any way, almost equal to the capacity or capability of Benny Gantz, so that it will seem as if Israel is in charge of the war. But anything short of being in charge, Hamas will overrun Israel.
All right. Well, you've brought in the election right now, 2026. I'm saying that this is about the election, about the survival of Benjamin Netanyahu, and of course, also it's also about the survival of the world trying to test the strength of Israel because of what is happening right now. Someone is saying that someone that is moderate should step into Benny's position. Someone is saying no. We need the ultras that believe Israel is right. Israel keep marching forward no matter what. After all, Netanyahu would have been accused of not wanting the war to end because of many things that has been hanging or waiting patiently to come at him immediately after the war. If you're to be given advice right now to the Prime Minister, which is Benjamin Netanyahu, and of course to the Israeli population, what kind of a president do you think should really fit into that position that Gantz stepped away from, he resigned from? Should be an Israeli extremist or someone that is moderate thinking? Let's have moderation in all this. Yeah. It's going to be all out, smashing out war.
Benny Gantz is and has been a centrist. So you need somebody of similar posture to handle it with the view that the same or similar results will be brought to the fore. If you bring a leftist or a rightist to it, a contradiction to his kind of nature, what you're going to have is a different set of results. You can't get the same results, except you get, allow me to use the word clone. Clone Benny Gantz, just clone him and put that same figure there. That's why we can have a result that is similar to what he has produced all this while. Right now, the Prime Minister should go and look for a sackcloth and some ashes to whip. You can't be flying a plane. You're on board. And the pilot tells you a thing. You refuse to even listen to him. And the pilot right there in the air says, I'm resigning. And you allowed it. You allowed it. So there should be some bit of diplomacy.
Diplomacy.
You gave me 10 things to think about. Okay, I'm on number 1 already. Can you give me some more time? Some bits of policy should have been brought into this matter.
Yeah.
To prevent Benny Gantz from resigning. It is all fundamental human rights. But I'm saying for the generality of the people of Israel, he shouldn't have resigned. But between him and the Prime Minister, he saw the reasons to resign. But it was the responsibility of the Prime Minister to see that his resignation will hit them with a heavy blow, should have begged him or look for a way to appease him. Out of 10 pages, I've read 3. Let me understand. Okay, you will come. This clause, I don't understand it. You engage him so that your enemies will know that you are still united. But now it's not maybe an assumption. It's clear, it's open that the Israeli army is not united anymore. The point of unity, that is Benny Gantz, that has been orchestrating everything, has left the theater of war. And what becomes of the other soldiers is not going to be determined by the next man that will take charge after Benny. And whatever modalities, perspectives that the new man is going to take is just, you're just bringing it back to primary 1 to learn all over. This was someone that was already there. If a player, that's your key player on the pitch of play, football pitch, says he wants to step aside, a good coach said, just go ahead, during the halftime, we'll replace you. Then the coach says, good riddance to bad rubbish, leave the pitch. And you are down 3 goals. You are removing the best player from your team for reasons based on ego or whatever stupidity you want to showcase to the whole world. The Prime Minister should have done something better than this. Try by all means not to have allowed this character to resign. Yes.
All right, thank you so much, Honorable Frank Amigo. Well, right now, Benny Gantz resigned, and he told the Israelis why he resigned. Paraphrasing, the last comment he made, we would have won it all. That was the comment he made. We would have won it all, internally and externally, if only the Prime Minister did the needful. Now, what is the needful? He never said. But so many things are really happening. Things are really going on. Israeli soldiers, none of them are not happy about this resignation. But come on, they have to prosecute the war. And don't forget also about the ceasefire agreement proposed by U.S. that it must take place. Without Benny Gantz in the picture, who knows? Thank you once more. I appreciate your wonderful analysis.
You're welcome.
We'll do it again next week, Tuesday, God willing. Bye for now.